mean, we all click on YouTube videos for the thumbnail, right? Or the title, but the thumbnail has to look good too. And a year ago when I first made my YouTube videos, I thought I was making good thumbnails, but boy, was I wrong. I do say that my thumbnails, in my opinion, are a lot better than they were a year ago. And I do get questions on how I make my thumbnails. So in today's video, I'm going to break away from the normal gameplay and show you how I make my thumbnails. All right. Now, the first thing that I do is I grab a screenshot from the video that I'm editing. And in this case, I'm using Adobe Premiere, and the way you capture a screenshot is by using the camera icon just below the preview screen. And when you do it this way, it's gonna save the image as a JPEG file in your local folder. And now that you have the image that you want to use for your thumbnail, what I do is I open up Adobe Photoshop, I import the file that I just took from Adobe Premiere, and I place it in a 1280 by 720 canvas because that's what YouTube recognizes as a good thumbnail image. Now that the image is uploaded, the next step is removing all the clutter that you don't want in a thumbnail that doesn't belong. I use the lasso tool, and it's over here on the left hand side, to remove all the unnecessary clutter from the image that doesn't belong in the thumbnail. That means removing the mini map, removing the compass at the top, removing all the icons that are gonna really take away from the image. This is done by using the generate fill command when you've selected an area that you don't want in the image. Adobe's Photoshop does a pretty good job at doing this, and it's one of the main reasons I still use Adobe Photoshop, because I've tried other programs and they just don't do this part of the process as well. And once I've got all this cleaned up, you can do some color correction in here, but I really don't do that in here. I'm just not that good at Photoshop, so I literally just pay for Photoshop just for this feature. And then once I'm done here, I move over to Canva. I exported this image as a PNG, saved it in the folder, and then we're gonna go upload it into Canva and do the brunt of our work over there. Now that we're in Canva, we're gonna select the YouTube thumbnail project because it's gonna size it accordingly. And then we're gonna upload the image that we just edited in Photoshop. Now that I have the image in the workspace, the next step is to create a foreground and a background. And I do that by using the Magic Grab tool. This basically kind of creates like two different layers within the same image, which allows me to add different elements to the thumbnail if I want to. Now, for the sake of this thumbnail, I'm not going to add too many layers. What I'm going to have is a foreground, a background, and then some text. Now that we have our two different layers, I'm going to adjust the colors of the thumbnail. And this is really just preference. What I do is I bump up the clarity a little bit. I bump up the sharpness a little bit. I adjust the brightness, the vibrance, the saturation. Again, use your imagination, create a theme for your thumbnails that people can identify you with, and really make it your own. After I adjusted the colors, what I like to do personally is add some blur to the background to give the image more depth. And this is what the thumbnail looks like. When I've added that blur, you can see it looks like the gun is popping out a little bit more. The background seems a little bit more distant. And now it's time to add the text to the thumbnail. I'm going to click on the text box tool, add a text box, and then I'm going to type in whatever it is that I feel like is going to pull people into the thumbnail. Once I figured out what I'm going to write on the thumbnail, I'm going to resize the text. And then I'm going to select a font that I like. In this case, I'm using Norwester. Feel free to use whatever font you like. I'm going to center it on the image, and then I'm going to use the layer feature to push the text behind the gun. Simply select the text and then you're going to send it backward. Remember, we have two layers on the image right now. We have the foreground and the background. This is how I get the text behind the gun. Now that I have the text behind the foreground, what I'm going to do is add some dimension or depth to the text as well. And I do that by clicking on effects and adding some shadows. Again, this is all preference, guys. Use different colors, use different blurs, transparencies, and heck, maybe even use different effects. Maybe you don't want the shadow, maybe you don't want the depth. Use whatever effect you want to use and make it your own thumbnail. You can see me here adding my logo in. If you don't have a logo, you don't need one. What I would say is just make thumbnails that your audience will recognize. So that way when your video pops up on YouTube, they know it's a video associated with your channel. And once you're satisfied with the thumbnail, all you have left to do is export it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the share icon in the top right corner and I'm going to download this as a PNG. And it's that simple, guys. Thumbnails don't have to be complicated and you can get as creative as you want to get with them. And that's it for today's video, guys. If you want to see more tutorials like this, let me know in the comment section below. If you really want to show some love, sub to the channel. If you have any questions about this process. If I missed something, if I didn't go into detail on something, again, let me know in the comments and I'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, peace y'all.